Hello to everybody, my name is Andrei Kureichik and it's my second video for Ukraine, Belarus, Russia channel. It's my second YouTube channel. The first one is a Russian language channel and Russian and Belarusian actually, and this one is English language channel for international audience. And here we talk about Ukraine, Russia, Belarus relationships, about the war, about the conflict, about the history, and you can find verified information and quality analytics about these topics. Thanks to all who watch, who subscribe, who donate. All the money we have through donations on both channels will go to the Ukrainian army. Okay, today I would like to make some analytics to think a little bit about what kind of war it is. This war, Russian-Ukrainian war. Of course, it started as conquer war. Putin had intention to take over Ukraine, to take parts of land and pieces of land and of course population, to put his government in Kiev. It was obvious, it was what he really told about many times. He thought that Ukrainians are not separate nations and the nationality was created by Russians, and their state was created by Lenin in 1919. Before that, Ukraine never been a kind of independent state. All the historical consequences you can find in pieces of lectures of Timothy Snyder put here on this channel too. It's lectures in Yale University. They're open, but they're quite long, so I made a smaller pieces and deliver it to you. So it's more convenient maybe to see pieces of Tim Snyder's lectures on specific topics. But so we have a conquer war on the one side, and on the other side it becomes a terrorist war or criminal war. When Putin and his army was defeated near Kiev in that region of Bucha, Gostomel, when they were defeated and actually ran away through the Chernobyl station, Chernobyl forest, what the new idea came to his head, to take the criminals from Russian prisons and send them to the war. That's why we have now a kind of army of criminals who are attacking Ukraine. Real criminals, murderers, maniacs, thieves, all kind of criminals you can find in American prison. Now they were united into like different kind of army structures and sent to fight. So when they came to Ukrainian territory, what they started to do, as any other criminal, they started to rob people. They made a violence to women, to men, to children. Sexual violence, including sexual violence. They started to kill people and, of course, to rob and take property of people. So after that, it was the level of these criminals, and everybody in for example, Russia, Belarus, or Ukraine, they know that actually the big part of Russian army is just typical criminals who are released from prisons and they can be freed if they will fight for Putin. And the second part of this criminal war is typical terrorism. So Putin decided to scare ordinary people, to scare a population with terrifying missiles attacks on peaceful infrastructure like electric plants, or educational facilities or roads or something like these. So he launched more than 100 rockets only on Tuesday, but actually during the last weeks he launched nearly 300 missiles, which is enormous money, which cost enormous money. I mean, it's not including these Iran drones, suicide drones, just normal missiles. Each of this missile cost a kind of $5-7 million each. So you can calculate how much money he spent on this attack. And his idea was to, because it's very cold in Ukraine, it's cold winter, to make all the people suffer. Some of them will die from the cold, especially elderly, especially invalids, disabled people, especially those who are in hospitals and who need, for example, ventilation, lungs ventilation, or some other things. And it will make Zelensky to stay on the knees. That was the idea. I can show you the photo of elderly who just came to the hospital after the missile attack to their residential house, and you can see the tragedy of all that people. This couple of elderly, they remember the Second World War, you know, and now they have the same from Russia. So it's definitely terrorism when Putin threatens the population and blackmails government of Ukraine and the West that he will torture that people more if it will be negotiations on his conditions. But there is the third look at this war. So the first is conquer war, the second is criminal terrorist war, and the third is thieves war. Because actually what Russians try to do, they try to steal everything they could. This is the photo from a museum of Kherson. You can see that they took everything. They took everything from the houses, from banks. They took, animals from zoo. They robbed people's residential houses. They robbed administrations, shops, everything like this. They tried to steal every thing that could be used somehow. They leave all the city absolutely empty after themselves. And most of this property is just private property of ordinary people, even not state-belonged property. This museum, for example, it's a city museum. It belonged to the city of Kherson. So we see these three kinds of war from the Russian side. And from the Ukrainian side, this war is just war for independence. It's absolutely the same war which Americans had in late 18th century when they fought for independence from British crown. We should understand that idea of this war came to Putin very long time ago and will never go out till he dies. So it means that all kind of negotiations cannot stop it while Putin had this idea. And this idea is a kind of his history obligation. He said that it's his historical mission, his historical role to take over all Slavonic lands which belong to Russian Empire. You can take the map of Russian Empire and look what kind of lands were included in Russian Empire. So he wants the restoration of Russian Empire, And unfortunately, most of these lands are now independent states, different kind of independent states. It's not only Ukraine, it's Belarus, definitely. That's why I put the Belarus in the name of the channel. Pretty sure that a lot of things will be there. It's Moldova, it's Georgia, it's northern Kazakhstan, it's part of Baltic countries. Because what Russia needs, they need a way, a path, a corridor to Kaliningrad district, which is enclave, surrounded by Baltic countries and Poland. So it means that idea that if Ukraine loses, it will over the war, definitely not. Definitely not. And the only thing which can really stop this war is defeating of Russia. Not in terms of like taking Moscow or St. Petersburg, nobody needs it. Who needs all that lands? Nobody. But not giving chance to Russian army cross the international borders. That will be the defeat of Putinism, of Putin imperial idea, and glory for all the world. So thank you very much. It was my second speech. I will try to keep you updated about what's going on there, if anything important will happen, and put some new videos about the history and about what's going on now in Ukraine. Please subscribe, please support, please donate. It was Andrei Kureichik. Thank you. Slava Ukraini!